G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks heaps for joining me. Today we are having a deep dive into the Mazda Rover S. That's right guys, we're going to have a deep dive into the Mazda Rover S. Now I have done a kind of surface review video on this. It's just up there if you want to have a look. It's a lot of laughs and a lot of fun. But before we get into it, we're going to have a chat about this. It is Movember, so we are supporting the Chris Matthews movement. You can search the Chris Matthews movement on any of the socials to pick up some awesome apparel where all the profits go straight to Movember. Alternatively, you can head to movember.com/the Chris Matthews movement to donate directly. We're aiming to raise $10,000 this year, so any support would be greatly appreciated. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the grind flow control. This was a really cool innovation where it allows you to change the anti-static mesh that's in the grinder to suit different applications. So let's take a look inside. So we've got little instruction booklets in different languages, and here we have our 3 slots. So the hybrid is what's factory installed, then we have an anti-dust and we have an anti-clumping. So throughout my use of this grinder, I really do think the hybrid mesh that's already in there from factory is the way to go. The anti-dust, I don't really have a coffee here that would require like an anti-dust style for at least what they intended it to be used for. However, I would say that if you had a really chaffy kind of natural coffee, it could be useful there. And then you've got the anti-clumping mesh, which would be really useful for lighter roasted coffees, where we have to grind a lot finer to extract the flavour. That mesh would be a real good one for that application. Okay, so now we're going to start taking the grinder apart a bit more. First of all, we're just going to swing this bad boy over. And I love just taking these things out. Same with the old Rover E's as well, the metal shield there. I just take it out. Just 2 screws. It gives you much better access to changing the anti-static mesh if you want to do that. Also, we're going to remove the hopper. And that gives us access to what we're going to talk about next, which is the blade cartridge. To remove our blade cartridge, just got to take off these 4 little tabs here. I did that gently with a screwdriver flathead. Then with a hex nut, remove the 4 screws and lift. Now, if I turn it over, here we can see we remove the blade here, and then we don't have to lose our grind setting. Mazda boasts a 52% reduction in coffee retention, and in my opinion it really shows, especially here when we're at this stage of undoing the grinder. You can really see where they've put the effort into keeping up the speed and the consistency of the grinder, but then lowering that retention as well. So now we're going to go ahead and change the grind flow control. Please don't do this unless you are competent. It is a big job. Please look, you could very easily lose things. And if you don't put it back together properly, you could render your grinder completely useless. And no one wants coffee just spewing out the sides of the grinder, that's for certain. So you have to obviously remove the grind cartridge, and then we've also had to remove the dosing chamber as well. 2 screws here. Okay, and I'm just going to close that up very gently, just put it to the side. Now, if the camera comes up, you can see this little pinball here. That's got to come up and out to enable you to get the little chamber, which is this bad boy, out to be able to change the grind flow control. So we're going to go ahead and do that. All right, so let's go ahead and take these 3 screws out here. And here we can see there we are. Now we can pull this out very gently. And there we go. So it's kind of like a push in and then turn to lock kind of deal. So as you can see, very finicky. You can see on the top here we've got 1, 2 and 3. So obviously that's the numbers 1, 2 and 3 for the grind flow control. They actually correspond with 3 tiny, tiny, tiny little holes of where you're actually supposed to put 1, 2 or 3. So look, we took out number 3, the hybrid. I'm just going to put that one back in. So I've got to put the little tab into the number 3 slot, which is this one here. Now that's in. So now what I have to do is push it forward. And there we go. So now that is an installed grind flow control. So now we just got to put this bad boy back together. Obviously the opposite of the way we put it on. Want to make sure this is all nice and tight, but not too tight. Just nip them up. Don't go overboard. Alright, so this is now ready to go back into the grinder. Okay, now that that's cleaned out, got to be spotless. Please make sure it's spotless. Ready to go back in. Straight in, like so. And I'm just going to hold that in while I place the locking pin back down. There we are, good to go. So now we can reattach our dosing chamber, put the blades back in, the cartridge back in, and we're good to go. All right, so we've got the dosing chamber back on. Again, not too tight on the screws, just nip them up. We can close that. Now we can put the cartridge back in. Easy as you like. At least that part's easy because not much else on it is. So we've got the grinder back together now, and I really hope you could see that changing that grind flow control is a really intricate job. So please don't attempt it unless you really need to change your grind flow control. I mean, look, have a go at it if you want, but just understand that if you don't get it right on the reassembly, then you could render the grinder useless. All right. Thanks very much for watching. This has been real fun. Please remember we are supporting the Chris Matthews movement for the month of November. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next video.